Good morning, everybody.
That's a joke at Sagar's expense because he scared the hell out of me yesterday with his good morning.
Happy Wednesday. How was it yesterday with Sagar?
It was great. It was great. And you're going to be back with Sagar tomorrow.
No. And he said he was going to play the lefty yesterday.
he tried.
How'd that go?
He did his best.
He's got the populist mojo if he just skips over a bunch of that other stuff.
Well, yeah, you should go back and watch his monologue from yesterday.
Okay. Was it a lefty one? What did he talk about?
Not at all. It was the opposite.
Ah, come on.
It was on guns. You'll love it.
Yeah, false advertising.
Right.
So we're back to normal here. And yes, I'll be on with Sagar tomorrow because Crystal is still on her honeymoon. She'll be back next week. So what do we got today? So we're going to talk about obviously the Eden Carroll verdict. We got George Santos, so the sealed indictment. And so we're going to play kind of George Santos bingo, trying to guess which of the 36 different frauds he's committed in the last couple weeks that the feds are going to indict him for. We're going to talk about the upcoming Ukrainian offensive. You've got Ukrainian officials worried that they may have overhyped what they're going to be able to accomplish. What are you looking at?
Yeah, we also have the debt ceiling negotiations. Big news in all of that yesterday. As we were prepping the show, it was like it just kept coming yesterday afternoon. We're talking about new developments and Ron DeSantis' potential bid for the presidency. I'm going to talk about a story that broke last night. Again, as we were preparing the show, more revelations about the CIA's involvement in the Hunter Biden laptop story. And then Congressman Ro Khanna is here in studio. We're excited to talk to him about the Supreme Court.
Right. So Eden Carroll, victorious, if we can put this tear sheet up, victorious in her defamation suit against President Trump. The jury found that Trump was liable for sexual assault as well as defamation, adding together $5 million in penalties tacked onto him. Trump then responded by immediately defaming her again. If we can put up his response to it. What do you say here?
Says,
I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. This verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. And so what Trump was hit for when it came to defamation was a number of things. One, saying, basically calling her ugly and calling her a liar. Mm-hmm. And here he is again, kind of calling her a liar. So it would be interesting if Eden Carroll goes back to Reid Hoffman, who funded this first lawsuit, and says, you know what? He's still defaming me. Reid Hoffman's not out of money. Mm-hmm. In fact, Reid Hoffman's lawyers probably got a little payout here.
I mean, a $5 million victory is pretty impressive in a case like this. And again, it's civil. So sexual abuse is defined in New York State as, quote, subjecting a person to sexual contact without consent. Carroll did not win on the question of rape. Rape is defined, this is from New York state law, as sexual intercourse without consent, which involves any penetration of the penis in the vaginal opening. That would have been much, given the allegations about a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room, I believe, right, in the 1990s, would have been really difficult to prove. That said, sexual abuse is, again, this is not a criminal case, so Donald Trump does not face jail time. That said, he has now lost on the question specifically of sexual abuse. Right. And yeah, this was her accusation. She sues him for saying he kind of pushed her against a wall, shoved her against a wall, and raped her in that dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman in Manhattan in the mid-1990s.
And not to get too graphic, but in Jean Carroll's testimony, she talked about not being completely 100% certain about everything that was going on while the assault was happening.
Right.
And so I think that's why the jury was like, well, we can't say with certainty precisely what happened in that dressing room, but we can say that there was a sexual assault.
Right.
And so what the jury said with that $5 million verdict is that they felt that was a very serious assault, because sometimes a jury will say, you know what? We do believe that the thing you say happened, and the damages we're going to give you are $1.
Yeah.
Like that's something that juries do sometimes. Say, yes, it happened, but it wasn't that big of a deal. This time the jury said, no, it happened, and it was devastating, and you're going to pay $5 million for this.
Yeah, and again, if it was a criminal trial, you would have a different standard for evidence. But in a civil trial, this is the judge had actually said to the jury before sending them back to deliberate, quote, use the preponderance of the evidence standard, which is more likely true than not true. So again, it's different than the criminal standard. If you're wondering, why this trial was sort of low key, it wasn't a huge fixture of media obsession. over the last 6 months or however long it's been going on. But it is partially because of that standard. And I do want to say a little bit that the E. Jean Carroll episode is a strange one all around. You mentioned Reid Hoffman. She, in her deposition, said she didn't think about suing Trump until George Conway approached her. And I think it was actually at a party at like Molly Jong Fast's house in Manhattan. One thing that makes me uncomfortable about the E. Jean Carroll case, people might remember that uncomfortable, to use the word again, interview she had, I think it was with Anderson Cooper, shortly after she made these allegations. She says, it was an episode, or this is the New York Times, it was an episode, it was an action, it was a fight, it was not a crime. It was, I had a struggle with a guy. I have not been raped. Something has not been done to me. I fought, that's the thing. She said something similar on MSNBC. I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border who are being raped around the clock down there without any protection. Very true. It would just be really disrespectful. She also said, mine was 3 minutes. I'm a mature woman. I can handle it. I can keep going. You know, my life has gone on. I'm a happy woman. The reason I use the word uncomfortable is that we do see sometimes in high-profile media cases like this, partisan and especially men use women for political purposes and drag them through, I think, like really, or convince them to be dragged through, fund the dragging through of just awful media circuses. That's not to say if E. Jean Carroll wanted to try this, she absolutely should have. Powerful men, Donald Trump, by all means, hold them to account for their actions. The allegations against Donald Trump here are not outside the scope of what seems plausible to me at all. That said, I have not enjoyed the media cheerleading for this sort of painful, I think, process that E. Jean Carroll has had to go through. Whether the allegations are true or not, she has seemed unwell at different points in this entire episode. And it's just always gross, I think, to see these wealthy kind of political operatives swoop in and bankroll some of this stuff, because I just doubt their motives. Her motives aside, I doubt their motives.
And what's also true is that life doesn't often imitate the kind of black and white understanding that we have of how these cases are supposed to unfold. And so there may be something in what you're saying, but at the same time, having covered a bunch of these different cases, what you often do see is people trying to minimize or rationalize what happened to them.
Yes.
And so when you see, E. Jean Carroll's a feminist who felt that giving over the power of the word rape to him was then giving up some of her own power and some of her own dignity.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to acknowledge what happened to them, because if they believe that, if they believe that if they can push it out of their mind and reject the fact that the experience happened, that somehow it didn't happen, and that you can process it better that way. And certainly, as she's saying, a 3-minute experience relative to what was going on at the border at the time is a different thing. And she's trying to grapple with her own privilege, at the same time recognizing that something horrific did happen to her, as she alleged to the jury, and as importantly, I think the jury believed. And the identities of the jury are fascinating. And not just the identities, but like the backgrounds.
We have that element.
Yeah. We can throw this one up here. I mean, the most interesting one, of course, being Bronx security guard who gets all his news from Tim Pool.
Yes.
So if you're able to convince that guy that Trump was guilty of sexual assault and defamation here,
right?
They made a good case.
Probably did a good job.
Yes.
Yeah. And
you go through the rest. You could see a 20-something retail worker. All right, that person was probably not that difficult to convince of this. If you're like, thinking about your guess of the caricature of their politics. But a ton of the other ones are typical, the kinds of people that Trump would be able to generally win over and might even vote for him. You could have several. There was apparently one MAGA person on the jury. you could have several other people who end up voting for him and also find him guilty of this sexual assault.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, I mean, almost half of Alabama voters voted for Roy Moore in 2018 or 2017, 2018. And if you talked to people down there at the time, they would say, listen, we're not saying that this is untrue, although some people certainly did. They're saying we're voting a single issue on abortion. And if you made that choice in 2016, obviously Roe versus Wade was just overturned based on a court that Donald Trump appointed 3 justices to. So that's where the logic comes from, and it's easily where the logic could come from. Again, I think what you said about E. Jean Carroll is really well said. You know, and I think obviously the jury was willing to have that conversation too, to the point where, as we just showed on the screen, you even have, you know, kind of a Tim Pool guy coming down on the side of
Interesting
Carroll.
week for Tim Pool. That's for sure.
Yes, that's for sure.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Soccer and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.